How's it going, car people? It's Lucas here back with another video. As you all know, 2019 is coming to an end and 2020 is right around the corner. I filmed a total of 32 cars in 2019, so let's go ahead and do the annual year in review, double back, look at all of the cars that I filmed this year, and look at some statistics that I have come up with about them. And before we get started, let me just say all the statistics that I have come up with, they have a lot of numbers and it may look like I'm reading them off of a screen. Well, I am. There are a lot of numbers and I was too lazy to memorize them all. It would just take too much time. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so first statistic, average year. The average year of all the cars that I filmed this year was 2011. The oldest vehicle that I filmed was the 1957 Massey Harris Ferguson FF30DS. Yes, it was the tractor that I filmed. Now, if we don't include all of the extra vehicles like the tractor and everything else extra that I filmed that's not actually a car, we'll just put those aside for now. The oldest car that I filmed this year was a Renault Twingo, which was a 2000. Now, there were two 2019 models that I filmed this year. Sadly, no 2020s, but the 2019 models tie for the newest cars that I filmed this year, which were the Kia Stonic, as well as the Ford Focus station wagon, which was also my most recent car review. Now let's move on to the body design. I filmed two subcompact cars this year, the Nissan Pixo and the Renault Twingo, 6 compact cars, 1 sedan, yes, only 1 sedan this year, and it was a full-size sedan, and that was a Toyota Avalon Hybrid. I filmed 2 station wagons this year, the Renault Talisman and the Ford Focus, most recent video, of course, well, review. I also filmed 4 MPVs this year, 2 minivans, the 2018 Toyota Sienna and the Chrysler Town & Country. I filmed 1 actual van, which was the Citroën Jumpy. I filmed 10 crossover SUVs, 2 full-size SUVs, the Jeep Grand Cherokee and the Range Rover, as well as 1 tractor, which I just said before was the Massey Harris Ferguson, and then I also filmed 1 scooter. Well, it's not a motorcycle, it's a scooter. It was the 2009 Suzuki Bergman 650. Alright, moving on to brands. I filmed cars from 16 different brands this year. My third most filmed brand was Renault, which I filmed 3 of. My second most filmed brand was Citroën, which I filmed 4 of. And my most filmed brand of this year was Toyota, with 5. Which is kind of funny. Why is it funny, you may ask? Well, it's because last year, Toyota was also my most filmed brand, which I filmed 5 of that year. And this year, it was also my most filmed brand with 5. That's quite a coincidence, wouldn't you say? Now for the countries of origin. I filmed cars from 7 different countries this year. It's not much, but you know, it is what it is. I only film what I can. I filmed the most French cars this year with 9, which also does make sense because I was in France for 5 months, so obviously filmed a bunch of French cars. I also filmed 8 Japanese cars, 7 American cars, 2 Romanian cars, 1 Korean car, and 1 British car. Moving on to filming locations, I filmed cars in 3 different countries this year, which are coincidentally the same ones as last year: Germany, USA, and France. Quite surprisingly, I only filmed 1 car in Germany this year, which was the Ford Focus station wagon. That may sound weird considering I live here, but you know, it is what it is. I also filmed 8 cars in the United States, and the remaining 23 were filmed in France. Now you may be thinking, 23 cars in France? It's a lot. Well, for the first 5 months of this year, I was in France, so it does kind of make sense. Now let's move on to the engine size of each car. The car with the largest engine that I filmed this year was the Chrysler Town & Country with a 3.6 liter V6. The smallest was the Suzuki Bergman 650 bike, which had a 638cc 4-stroke liquid-cooled twin-cylinder engine. Now if we're talking just cars, so all the bikes, tractors, and everything gets moved out of the way, just cars, the one with the smallest engine was the Kia Stonic with a 1-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder. Now let's move on to transmissions. Out of all the 32 cars that I filmed this year, 18 of them had a manual transmission. Wow, more than half the cars I filmed this year were manuals, which is pretty awesome. But all those 18 manuals were filmed in France, so yeah, it kind of makes sense. Manual transmissions in Europe are a lot more popular than in the US or other places. The remaining 14 cars that I filmed were of course all automatics, and among those automatics, there were 2 CVTs and the two CVTs were in the Toyota CHR hybrid and the Toyota Avalon hybrid. Both hybrids, makes sense for them to have a CVT. And 3 cars had a dual clutch transmission, which were the Volkswagen T-Roc, the Volkswagen GTI, and the Kia Stonic. And now let's move on to the countdown lists. And keep in mind, in these countdown lists, I'm not going to include the tractor that I filmed this year, the Massey Harris from 1957, and the Suzuki Bergman is also not going to be included. Mainly because with these countdown lists, it's kind of not fair to put them in there because they would probably lose in most of them. So we're just going to leave those out. And let's go ahead and move on to the top 3 least powerful cars that I filmed this year. Number 3 is the Chevrolet Aveo with 75 horsepower from that 1.3 liter turbo diesel 4-cylinder. Little diesel, little car, not really much to expect out of it. Number 2 is the Nissan Pixo with 67 horsepower out of that 1 liter naturally aspirated 3-cylinder. Engine size, small car, no surprise at all. And number 1 is the Renault Twingo with 60 horsepower. This is probably the least powerful car out of all of the cars that I've ever filmed, not just from this year. Then again, it is a small car, it does not need much horsepower, and it only needs a small engine, so you can't be too surprised that it only has 60 horsepower. And now moving on to the top 3 most powerful cars. Number 3 is the Chrysler Town & Country with 283 horsepower from that 3.6 liter V6. Relatively powerful. Number 2 is the 2018 Toyota Highlander with 295 horsepower. And then number 1 is the 2018 Toyota Sienna with 296 horsepower. Yeah, the Sienna won because of 1 horsepower. Crazy. Now onwards to the top 3 slowest 0 to 60 times. At number 3 we have the Renault Twingo with a 0 to 60 time of 13.7 seconds. As I said before, it's only got 60 horsepower. Doesn't weigh much, but still, it's not fast. Number 2 is the Citroën Jumpy with a 0 to 60 time of 14.1 seconds. It's a big van with only 120 horsepower. What can you expect? And then number 1 is the Chevy Aveo with a 0 to 60 time of 14.2 seconds. Yes, it lost because of 0.1 seconds, but at the same time, it's a compact car with only 75 horsepower from a diesel engine, so not really much to expect out of it. Now for the top 3 fastest 0 to 60 times. For number 3, we actually have a tie between the Toyota Avalon Hybrid and the 2018 Toyota Sienna, which both have a 0 to 60 time of around 7.5 seconds. At number 2, we have the 2018 Toyota Highlander with a 0 to 60 time of 7.2 seconds. It's actually kind of surprising that so far we've only had bigger vehicles on this list. But at number 1, we have the Volkswagen GTI with a 0 to 60 time of 5.6 seconds. It is the only sports car that I filmed this year, so it isn't really surprising that it has the number 1 fastest 0 to 60 time out of all the cars that I filmed this year. Now let's go ahead and move on to the top 3 most popular videos of 2019. Now, this may be a little bit unfair because some videos were uploaded more recently, others have been up for a while, but I'm still gonna do it anyways. At number 3, we have the Dacia Sandero Stepway with 14,000 views. I uploaded that video in June, so it's been 6 months, but it's actually gotten a fair amount of views, and a lot of people seem to like it, probably because it's one of the cheapest cars that you can buy in Europe. Number 2 is the Range Rover, with 17,000 views. I'm actually not too surprised that it's been going up in views because I enjoyed filming that car quite a lot. And now number 1 should be relatively obvious, the Toyota CHR Hybrid, which currently sits at 92,000 views. It's getting closer and closer to hitting that 100k view mark. I never expected that car to get so many views, and fun fact, about a month after I uploaded that video, within less than a week, it actually went from like 2,200 views to 10,000 views, which was crazy. The view count is not really going up super fast anymore, but it's still going up. And sooner or later, it's going to hit 100,000 views, which I am very excited about. And now, for the honors. Let's go ahead and count down my top 10 favorite vehicles filmed of 2019. At number 10, we have the Chevrolet Aveo. I put this at number 10 because I thought it was kind of cool to be filming something a little bit different than what I was used to seeing on the roads of Europe, so I was glad I got the opportunity to film it. Number 9 is the Volkswagen T-Roc, which is another vehicle from one of my 2 nationalities. This thing actually was very nice, which made it more fun to film it. At number 8, we have the Mercedes-Benz ML270 CDI. Wow, what a shocker. The first Mercedes I've ever filmed only at number 8? Well, it was because the video of it didn't quite go as planned due to problems the car was having while I was filming it. But it is still the first Mercedes I've ever filmed, so it is nostalgic to me and makes the list because of that. At number 7, we have the Toyota Avalon. I was kind of surprised to have the chance to film one of those, and I'm glad I got that opportunity because that for sure is a very nice, well-equipped car. At number 6, we have the Massey Harris Ferguson FF30 DS. It's a tractor. Of course, it was exciting to film. My work here is done. At number 5, we have the Toyota Highlander Platinum Limited. Just like the Avalon, I was also surprised at how well equipped this vehicle was, but this one was also basically fully loaded, so I really enjoyed filming this car, which is why it makes number 5 on the list. At number 4 is the Jeep Grand Cherokee, another surprise of this year, the first American car that I filmed in France. Definitely a very nice SUV which I had hoped to be filming one day, and that was when it happened. At number 3 we have the Volkswagen GTI, yet another surprise of 2019. Unfortunately, this was the only sports car that I filmed this year, and I also filmed it in the evening as it was getting dark out, but it was totally worth it. Definitely one of the coolest cars that I filmed this year. At number 2 is the Toyota CHR. Surprise, surprise, the most viewed car review of not only 2019, but of all cars I've ever filmed is not number 1. Well, the reason for that is because I kind of unexpectedly filmed it. But it was definitely worth it, because I've always been a fan of the CHR, and it's really good to know that so many other people also are. And now at number 1, my most favorite vehicle that I filmed this year was, drumroll please, the Range Rover. The second most viewed vehicle of 2019 and third most viewed overall on my channel, losing to the Toyota Yaris from summer of 2018 and of course the CHR. I was very excited when I finally got to film this car. There was just something so cool about this car that made it very exciting to film. Even though I was kind of tight on time to finish this video, it still came out good and I enjoyed every minute of time that I got to spend with this car. Alright, and all of that is going to wrap up my year in review of 2019. Hope you enjoyed all of the videos that I have uploaded this year, and most of all, I hope you all had a really good 2019, and hopefully 2020 will be even better. Hopefully there will be some good stuff coming in 2020, even though at this point I'll be kind of busy with school every now and then, so there might not be as much unfortunately, but I'll do as much as I can, I promise. On that note, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in 2020. Goodbye.